Who can you call if you end up on the wrong side of the law, or the wrong side of a business deal? Who can take all your legal troubles away for a modest fee? Who will be by your side when all others have forsaken you? Faustian D'Azoral, Warlock at law, that's who.
A life of adventure can and should be a grand thing, although not everybody is cut out for it. And if you aren't cut out for it, it might be best to avoid becoming contractually obligated to do adventures, no matter how much money they offer you. But if greed gets the better of you, you can always find a way to fulfill the letter of the contract, if not the spirit. So tell me again what you did.
I agreed to slay some giants.
And that is not in your skill set?
No. I am a tailor. My skill set mostly entails sewing clothes.
And why did you agree to slay giants, since you are, as you say, just a tailor?
Well, you see, because they offered me a lot of money. A lot. About half of it up front.
Why did they do that?
Because of my belt.
The belt that you're wearing now? That reads 7 in a single blow? Care to explain?
I made it to celebrate my achievements.
It's good to have pride in your accomplishments. But I have to ask, what specifically are you celebrating with your belt?
Isn't it obvious? One time, I killed 7 flies in a single blow.
That is impressive, but I don't know if it is obvious. And I'm not sure why that would make the Highland Merchants Association believe that you were the man for the giant removal job.
I mean, 7 is such an impressive number, but when I got to the mountain pass the giants were holding, they were much, much larger than flies.
How much larger? Giant, what'd you say?
In retrospect, it seems pretty obvious. But I've only got another week to finish the job, or they're going to want their money back.
And what do you want me to do about it? I'm not an adventurer.
Well, you see, I'd like to work it out so that I get to keep the money. Please. I already spent most of it.
Okay. Tell me, what exactly did you agree to? The exact phrasing.
They said, just get rid of those giants. They're waylaying our caravans coming through the Pinewood Pass.
I can work with that. Jack Taylor, in my humble opinion, the best way to ensure that you get your money is to get rid of those giants.
But I can't.
Nonsense! Let's just go to Pinewood Pass and see what we can do. Now I know what you're thinking. This is not a job for a warlock at law. This isn't a legal job at all. And you can't just make a deal out of this. To which I say, screw you! I can make a deal to get out of anything!
I say, it's been nearly 2 weeks since any flipping caravans came through. I'm jolly starving to death over here.
Well, look sharp, old lad. Methinks that there are travelers approaching right now.
Excellent news. I'll grab them if you want to get out the bone mill and fire up the bread oven.
They're going to eat us.
We'll be fine. Just be quiet and let me do the talking. Well met, giants!
So polite. Usually people tend to be quite rude when they see us.
Rather. Lots of screaming and carrying on.
It's a right old palaver.
Can't imagine why. I mean, they even did it before we started waylaying the odd caravan here and there.
If I might offer an opinion, could it be the way that you're dressed?
These old things?
You have to understand, we've been living a bit rough since we left Giant Home away over the mountains.
And none of the bloody clothiers in these low countries stock new duds in our sizes.
Their big and tall sections don't even approach this big and tall.
So, beg pardon, but you'll have to excuse our rather poor sartorial showing.
Now, which one of you bright lads would like to be the first to dinner?
I mean, you could eat us, but if you do, you'd never know about the deal we propose.
We are quite hungry, but curiosity is a different sort of hunger entirely.
I suppose we could postpone dinner. It's fine. I'm just wasting away to nothing over here. Look at me. I'm down under a ton for the first time in I don't know how long.
Tell me, what could you possibly offer that would be better than a full stomach for a weary exile?
Oh, big folks like you, I doubt we'd fill your stomachs. And if you did, you'd miss out on the services of Verhaalgard's greatest tailor.
Really?
You don't say?
Who's that?
Shut up, it's you.
Oh,
Yes, this is Jacques. And he can create an entirely new wardrobe for you.
I can? I can! Yes, I can! Huh?
It would be nice to look nice.
I'd love a new look. What would you want in exchange?
We've got a tidy bit put by from all the merchants we've forcibly patronized.
How dare you? Jacques is an artist. He won't work just for money.
He won't? I won't!
No, Jacques insists. If you wear his very fine clothes, you must be seen in them all around the world. In short, Jacques will make you the most splendid garments if you leave the Pinewood Pass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yes, indeed, yes.
Oh? Sounds like a bit of a lark.
Have a bit of a roam, see a few of the sights. Sounds jolly good to me.
Hey, should we send them to go out into the world like that? They eat people!
Fine. The great Jacques also demands that you commit no crimes while wearing his clothing. He'd be especially incensed if you sully his fine garments with blood. So you must commit no crimes while wearing them.
No caravans to eat? Well, I suppose could get jobs.
Manual labor? Perish the thought. Still, needs must and all that.
It'll be nice to rejoin civilization. Eh, what? Fine. We agree to your terms.
I'm afraid I'm going to need a bigger tape measure.
Done and dusted, right? All solved, as most of my admittedly less exciting cases are, without ever setting a foot in a courtroom. Except it wasn't actually over.
Your Honor, I feel it is self-evident that we hired Mr. Taylor to destroy the giants, and he did not do that. Instead, he dressed them and sent them out into the world. In light of this, it is reasonable to withhold payment for services not really rendered.
Mr. D'Azoral, do you have any rebuttal to this?
Your Honor, I wonder if I might ask the defendant some questions about the circumstances of the original deal.
Very well.
Now, I believe the agreement was actually phrased thus. We want to hire you to get rid of the giants plaguing the Pinewood Pass. There are currently no giants in Pinewood Pass. By the terms of your agreement, surely that constitutes a rousing success.
When hiring an adventurer, it is standard phraseology. It is generally understood to mean kill or destroy the target.
I would argue that that kind of ambiguity in adventuring contracts is its own problem. But you didn't hire an adventurer. You hired, to remove these giants, a tailor. When you hire a tailor, you shouldn't be surprised when he solves your problem by making clothes.
He represented himself as an adventurer.
How did he do that?
He was wearing this belt.
Ah, you mean this belt, reading, and I quote, 7 in a single blow.
Indicating that he once killed 7 men at once.
7 men? It doesn't say that. It could be 7 anything. Why assume it refers to men?
Well...
Your Honor, I wonder if I could indicate my client to the court and ask him some questions?
Very well. Proceed.
Jack Taylor.
Yes?
Not to put too fine a point on it, but sometimes you struggle to lift bolts of cloth in your shop, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us what your belt refers to?
Once I managed to swat 7 flies at once.
Really? I remind you that you are under oath?
Well, it could have been 6, I don't know. It was hard to count them all at once, just being smushed, but it also could have been 8, by that logic.
And where were you when you received this miraculous job offer?
In front of my shop?
Your tailor shop.
Yes.
Your Honor, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Taylor, is it not also true that your tailor shop is right next to a branch of the Adventurers Guild?
Yes?
Your Honor, I feel this makes it a reasonable assumption that Mr. Taylor was an adventurer capable of killing 7 in a single blow. The Highland Merchants Association thought, reasonably, that the man outside the Adventurers Guild wearing that belt was an adventurer.
Ah, it all becomes clear.
Mr. D'Azoral?
Your Honor, I have just one more question for my client, and then I feel that I will be ready to make my closing statement.
Fine.
Mr. Taylor, when representatives of the Highland Merchants Association approached you outside of your shop, what were you doing?
Sweeping, I suppose.
Not something an adventurer is likely to be doing, is it?
I
I apologize to the court. That was a rhetorical question. Now, let me recreate for you the hiring of Mr. Taylor as I see it happening. Giants had been terrorizing caravans passing through the Pinewood Pass. Thousands of gold lost to their depredations. The Highland Merchants Association needed to do something, but money is tight. So, on the way to post a contract to the Adventurers Guild, when they spot a likely lad with a belt that says 7 in a single blow, they see an opportunity to save some money on contract costs. If they hire outside of the guild, they don't have to pay the guild's cut, and possibly can get away with offering a much lower price. What would be a lowball offer to an adventurer is a lot of money to a humble tailor. Too much money to pass up. Now, most people, when faced with a situation like this, might go buy a cheap sword and go out and get themselves killed. But not my client. My client finds a way to solve the problem, fulfilling the letter of the agreement, if not the spirit, using his own skill set. So, the Highland Merchants Association's cheap cost-saving measure paid off unbelievably well. But then, they see another way to cut costs, by refusing the remainder of the agreed-upon bounty. My client has succeeded beyond any reasonable expectations and deserves the payment of the agreed-upon amount. I rest my case. Jack Taylor did get the rest of his giant removal fee, minus my cut, and also minus my second cut for making sure he got the full amount from them so he could afford to pay me for my first cut. Greed got him into an adventure he was in no way qualified for, so we changed the adventure until he was qualified. If the Highland Merchants Association hadn't let greed get the better of them, they'd have realized what a lucky break they'd gotten. But instead, they got to pay Jack the full amount plus legal fees. Those are the dangers of trying to play fast and loose with a contract. And I, Faustian D'Azoral, Warlock at law, can always work a contract.
You're listening to Kingdom of Stone Tree Broadcasting.